Well, I had a flight video of my first flight since that horrible Pavo20 disaster, but unfortunately, I don't use my walk snail whoop that often, and for some reason, it didn't record a video. The very first video didn't, like, it's recorded, but I cannot read it. I have no idea what's going on there. So for the very first flight since that horrible thing yesterday, I don't have any video for it. All right, out and about with my minis. Got the Neo, got the Walk Snail, which is currently flying, and I got my little Pavo. I gotta say, it's been a while since I've touched this Walk Snail Whoop. It flies really smoothly. It's like just slow enough where you can go full acro and not feel like you're being thrown at 1,000,000 miles an hour into a wall. It's also really durable. The only downside is that it's a 1S whoop, so it doesn't have a lot of staying power. I get maybe 60, 90 seconds worth of power out of it, and that's just on angle mode. If I start getting tricky with it, put it on to acro mode, do some flips and rolls, those batteries are drained almost instantly. I really should have got the 2S version. I just like the concept of a 1S battery. They aren't as inexpensive as I thought they were, though. I seem to recall them being like $2 or $3. It was like almost $10 a battery. I think the cheapest 1S batteries I have are like $8. I mean, they're good quality batteries. They're not the absolute dregs, but even the good batteries, they don't seem to last that long. I got the We Bleed FPV batteries. Ooh, be careful on that. Yeah, it's already out of power. Got to take it back. And of course, with Walk Snail system, you have to make sure the power stays over 3.2, or the whole VTX will just brown out. Let's head to the real park. Walk, 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 walk. I just needed to do some tests while I was still close to my home, in case I needed to run back and grab something. Better idea is to take this to Emerson, where I got a little more space. Got my tree rescue kit with me. I mean, it's a tiny whoop. In fact, they're all small, so the likelihood of any of them getting caught in a tree is kind of high. All right, pop this stuff back out here and get my avatar stuff set up. You know, I've not had any binding issues with this little whoop like I've had with a Pavo. I don't know what's going on with the Pavo. That thing comes unbound often. It comes unbound if it collides. It comes unbound if it just sits there for a while. Look at this little thing go up. This is full acro, and already that ascent was flashing some low battery. Picture's not too bad for such a small thing. It's about on par with what you get out of a Vista unit. The original... got little flips going on. The original DJI air units. It's about that kind of quality. And of course it's on incredibly tiny little... Like, it looks big from this perspective, but you know, you could see it on the table. It fits comfortably in the hand. It's a little tiny thing. Kind of excited about those DJI 4 air unit 4s, the light ones. Those are about the same size as this, and they even get a better picture. Downside is, though, with this, I could swap out the cameras, get like a, maybe a low light camera or something cool like that. Where with the DJI lights, it's whatever DJI camera they hand you. I don't think you can change out the cameras at all. They only accept one camera, and that's the camera they make. That's what happens when you're in closed ecosystems. You already got to land it. Batteries out on this one, too. So what's that? This is the third pack. Ease this thing in here. Kinda. Throw it at myself. Alright, let's get this little guy in here again. Ooh, jeez. Man, it is hard to take off on acro. In fact, one of the reasons I flew it up high in the air to start out with when I got to the park is because it was in angle mode. I went up really high and then switched it over to acro. because I wanted to give myself a little time to recover from switching modes. You know, even as fast as it's not too fast. It's controllable speed. And it's got way more power than, like, say, the Neo in full manual mode. The Neo uses, was it lithium-ion batteries? That's why they have such great battery life. Like, the Neo can run, what is it, like 12, 15 minutes off a battery? And, you know, this thing's running a minute. Because the Neo has such reserved, it's always sipping power. It doesn't have the real punch when it needs it. This thing might not go very fast in any particular direction, but it's got really good maneuverability when you need it. In fact, probably should start trying to fly even more recklessly with this. I don't have to worry about running into anybody, because even if it hit them, they would barely notice it even touching them. Hell, I land this thing just by crashing it into me. Like that. Look at that. Bounced and stayed right on my shirt. It didn't even have the energy to throw itself off. There we go. Starting to get a little more control there with my acro takeoffs. You definitely don't want to lean that stick forward like you do in angle mode, or you will just slam into the ground real quick. Range is not too bad either. Some people talk smack about the range on Walk Snail, but you can actually get great range on Walk Snail. You just have to make sure to update the firmware and then increase the VTX power to something better than 25 milliwatts, which is just pathetic. It only goes like 50 feet on 25 milliwatts. 50 feet line of sight, maybe 10 feet if there's a little obstacle in the way. But you punch that thing up to, say, 500 milliwatts, all of a sudden, you know, you can get a block or two away. You can get some distance like this, and it's not a big deal. I can't remember if I have it at half a watt or if I got it at 750 milliwatts. You know, milli being 1,000th. I do know it's going through power awful fast, though. Maybe I should check into a 2S Walk Snail. Ooh, the goggles, well, not as fancy as the DJI ones. They do have the benefit of they start up right away. And being such simple devices, they don't have any of that remote ID nonsense or anything. They don't log in. They don't check your location. I mean, they're not really designed to go more than like 20 feet off the ground anyways. So you don't have to check in with the network or get permission to fly these things. They just fly, which is a tremendous bonus. I wish I would have had these with me that day I was at the park. God, that was ridiculous. I'm under a canopy of trees and I can't take off. Just because he couldn't get a cell phone signal to get the authorization it needed. It was ridiculous. It's completely insane. Of course, in order to fly this, I mean, this Whoop itself might be a little tiny thing that fits my hands. I got to bring the ELRS controller. I got to bring the Avatar video goggles. The Avatar video goggles are kind of fragile. They need to be brought in their own case. It's a pile of stuff. I mean, my table is overflowing with various bits and ends just to fly these 3 different little quads around. All right, I'm going to switch it over to the Pavo, which means I got to switch over to DJI. Let's see. Oh, did I have a... I think it came unbound again. Ugh, that unbinding issue is insane. Why does this keep happening? Does anybody else have a Pavo20 Pro and have it come unbound all of the time? I constantly have to carry the cable with me to connect it to my phone, to put the quad into binding mode, and then rebind it to my controller. I really need to figure out what that is. It's such a waste of my time, really. It's like an extra 5 minutes. I suppose it's not that complicated, but it is something. You can see the Pavo. The Pavo has I had 3S, which means it's packing around 3 of the same batteries. The other one just had 1. A 3S, it's got a little too much power for me. It goes too fast. I am just zooming around. And, I don't even have like that, on the quads DJI makes, they have all this fancy controlling electronics to help smooth out everything. I don't have any of that. So it's just me and utter chaos balancing a plate on the edge of a stick. It's basically what most people put up with when they fly FPV. I don't have the cheat modes turned on, man. I still think I was doing pretty well, Not no collisions, I don't think. Kept it off the ground for the most part, which is good because, again, the battery is on the bottom, which is mind-blowingly dumb. For God's sake, why'd they put the battery on the top? So when you land, you don't land on the battery. Like, the fragile, potential fire hazard battery, and I got to land on top of that? That's so dumb. It doesn't make any sense. Well, other than the fact that the weight's actually pretty well distributed at that point. You put the heaviest thing on the bottom, you don't have to worry about it tipping over. I still think they could work around that. In fact, they really should work around that. I'm getting too far out of the street here. I mean, come on, guys, get your act together. Put the battery. At least make a little cover on the bottom. Ugh, hit that plant. Put a little cover on the bottom so the battery doesn't always hit whenever I bottom out or whenever I'm landing. Anything. I mean, that poor little battery's just dangling out there. They wrap up the batteries pretty good. They kind of expect them to be thrown around a bit, but it's moving pretty fast, scraping along the ground. It's the plastic on the edges of almost all my batteries have all been damaged a little bit, which makes me nervous about charging the batteries and stuff. I'm always gonna keep an eye on these things. Can never trust them. Hey, I can finally get near the playground set. Such a shame people let their kids play around here. These things are clearly made for drone pilots. How dare they let those children play on those sets? Those are for me, a grown man and my little toy. Yeah. I was actually surprised earlier, some people over here with their kids. I mean, shouldn't their kids have been in school or something? I figured I'd pop over here before a class got out. Well, people are still on their day jobs. I work on the internet. My job's whenever I get around to doing it. I know some people are out here already. And I gotta avoid their kids and kind of keep myself in my own little area. They say I'm doing pretty good on acro mode flying straight lines. Obviously not nearly as good as I would be if I was using DJI's fancy electronics to help straighten out everything for me. You have no idea how just carefully and meticulously I am holding those tiny little sticks in my finger just to make sure that I can keep this thing flying straight and even. I tell you, every time you get the tiniest little collision, it just sets something off in your mind. Your fingers start moving around just a little too much, and all of a sudden the quad's just wildly out of control. I mean, this needs like Zen level focus. And I am not quite Zen level focused when flying. Flew it right into my crotch. That was probably not a great idea. All right, walk. Too many people running around the park. I think I need to find another place to go. Even more people are showing up with even more kids. I mean, I guess it makes sense. It's a kids' park. Let's see, maybe the alleyway or something I can fly in. Maybe just one more flight. That's all I need. Just one more hit today to settle my addiction. Oh, here's a good spot, and not too populated at the moment. I gotta be careful. This is right near the courthouse, and I don't want to get anybody in the courthouse upset or overly interested in my flying. But flying the Pavo right here, it's really small, it's pretty quiet. It makes far less noise than the Neo or Avata. Man, I've been over this field a lot. I'm not too sure if I can walk out there and get my quad or not. I don't think there's any no trespassing signs. Ah, it's in angle mode. Oh well, too late to change it now. Get pretty good range out of the Pavo. It's probably better range than the Neo gets. Not quite as good range as the Avata with its 04 air unit stuff. You know, pretty good. Try to avoid these kids running around. That rooftop thing. And one of these days, I would love to go up there. I don't know, make friends with somebody in that building, go up there and check out that rooftop patio. I bet they got a sweet view up there. Of course, not as good a view as I have zooming around like this. Given I'm not seeing it through my own eyes, but the view in the air is always the best. Bird's eye, baby. I'm glad all this people cleared out of here. Usually they're busy playing pickleball all day, all night. I have no idea what's up with that weird game, why it's taken off so much. It's like a really lame version of tennis. Or maybe just like a very large version of ping pong. I don't know. I know it makes tons of noise, though. You can hear that. You can hear them playing that from blocks away. In fact, I think usually when I'm zooming around this area and they're playing pickleball, I don't even notice it over the sound of bonk, 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 bonk. All right, let's try to bring this in for a careful landing. Ugh. Oh my god. Good thing I land on the battery, right? It went right under the bus stop, out the backside. I had to go find it. See, I got another battery. Oh yeah. Get this thing back in the air. Oh, it came unbound again. You see that? That collision was enough for it to come unbound. What is going on with this? Any tiny electrical anything, and it just forgets the connection to my radio instantly. Still fiddling around with that thing. Ah, the bus shows up. The bus will not leave. The guy's not even looking at me. Is he expecting me to go jump into that? I didn't. Alright. I took the bus showing up as a indication that maybe I should go someplace else. Fly somewhere where I'm not going to have a giant vehicle show up and block my way. I mean, it's not unusual for people to occasionally just, sit down in a bus stop because they're tired or whatever. Alright, since I haven't flown it yet, I figured I'll pop the Neo into the air for a little bit. Put it on sports mode, which is... Can you tell the difference? From the time I took off, from the time you heard that beep beep and it went into sports mode, can you really tell the difference in speed? It's so subtle. I swear to God, I looked in the settings. I made sure to max out all of the settings on the Neo whenever I put it in, or Neo and the Avata whenever I put it in sports mode. And normal mode runs everything at half speed. The difference between half speed and full speed on the Neo, well, is about this. Is a few miles an hour. I don't know what's going on there. It might be a problem with the firmware. Maybe DJI needs to look into that. See, I figured I'd take this, do this little, what do you call it? Little indoor route right through here. Little trench run. Get my Star Wars going on. I mean, giving it a far less exciting speed than the Avata would be able to do. Of course, at this point, my confidence with the Avata is kind of non-existent. I've got its replacement all lined up, and I'm still asking them about fixing the other one, so when this finishes up, I might have an extra Avata in case I ever wipe out again. But man, I don't know how much more. I don't know how much zooming around I'm going to do for a while. It's nice to have that DJI Care to get it fixed when it does need to get fixed. And I still need to fix the goggles. It's ridiculous. The little joystick on the goggles is still broken. So I can't do some settings. Like I can't put it in full manual mode because I have to have the FPV controller hooked up. But the only way I can control the menus is using motion controller. Something else that needs to get fixed. And of course, to do that, I have to be without my my DJI goggles, which is not only used for the Neo, it's used for the replacement of Avata when that gets here. It's used for the Pavo. It's used for most of my quads. I mean, really, it's just the Walk Snail is the only thing that doesn't use those DJI goggles. I don't think I want to spend 6 weeks piloting around just a little tiny whoop. You know, I need a bigger hit of adrenaline than just a little whoop. Whoops are nice. Whoops are fun. I found it really controllable. It's probably a great way to practice acro. Ooh, air conditioning. Oh, what was I saying? Completely distracted again. I can't go 6 weeks without the goggles. I'm trying to figure some way to get around that. Maybe how to check DJI's Care. Maybe DJI Care has something where they can like send me a replacement and I like put money down on it. Look at that dinky little air conditioning. Shame on you. I've seen far better air conditioning. What was I saying? I have no attention span at all. But maybe I can get DJI I can put some money down as a deposit and they can just send me a new pair of goggles while they fix the old goggles, or you know, something so I'm not without the goggles. 6 weeks, there's no way. There's no way I'm waiting that. You know, I spent the last, well, 2.5 months? The joystick and the goggles went out not too long after I started owning them. This entire time, I have been hobbling along using the motion controller to control the menus because I can't do anything else. Look at that weird big tank. I think that's full of sewage. So something else that needs to get fixed. The Neo is pretty good for treetop exploration. As long as you're not in a rush and you don't need completely fine-tuned control, the Neo is pretty good. My friend could definitely use the Neo to chase around his pet cat that keeps wandering off. Not exactly an adrenaline junkie device, though. Alright, I gotta get back home, file some paperwork for flyaway since I can't get my drone back out of the water. We know exactly where it's crashed, nobody can swim out there to get it. We haven't tried to fish it up yet. Well, they've tried, they just haven't succeeded. Well,